Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on FPL Now. Today we're going to be going over my final wildcard draft for Game Week 8. So if you're excited for the video, drop a like down below. Leave a comment, are you wildcarding this week? If you're not, what transfers are you making? Subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into the video. So, starting things off, this video is going up a little bit later than usual, just simply because I wanted to see what all the press conferences have to say, especially with like Aston Villa and Spurs and stuff like that, before deciding on my final wildcard team. Now, I'm not completely decided yet. I have two different drafts up that we're going to go over today, and I generally just can't decide between them. There's only a couple of players that are different in them. I just don't know which way to go, but I'll talk about what I'm kind of leaning towards more, but why I have these like two drafts up. So, in goal, again, these have not changed all week. I don't think these will change at all. Turner and Areola, not the best goalkeeper combination out there, obviously, but definitely the cheapest. 8.2 will get you two first playing goalkeepers. Again, Turner may potentially lose his spot, close to a price rise. I do hope he does get a price rise tonight, because that just kind of, it's just a little bit of leeway. You know, if he does get a price drop down the line, it will just go back to 4 mil, so you won't actually lose any money on him. But then Areola is, you know, after these next couple of fixtures, game week 8 and 9, it's just an absolute great option to have on a wild card. I completely understand the kind of significance of wildcarding in game week 10. You don't get the two bad fixtures of Newcastle and Villa, and then you can just have Areola on that game week 10 wildcard. You don't have to worry about anything, especially with like West Ham players as well, like your Bowens, your James Ward-Prowses and stuff like that. You can easily just drop on the game week 10 wildcard. But for me, those are my goalkeepers, and I will probably just have these for the remainder of the season, really, unless anything massive happens. I don't really see why I would get rid of them. Maybe I upgrade to a keeper down the line on my next wildcard, but I just don't like using transfers on goalkeepers at all. It's why I had to stick with Onana for so long, just simply because I didn't want to waste a transfer on him, because they can't net you that many points, no pun intended, because, you know, once they lose the clean sheet, they might get you a couple of save points, but apart from that, they're not going to be saving penalties every week. But either way, in goal, we do have Turner and Areola. At the back, we have Cash, Burn, Gabriel, Porro, and Kabore. So I've actually gone for Porro over Udogie. I made the transfer last night because Porro actually had a price change last night. Dude, I've been just scouting the price rises and price falls like every single night before they do change to see who's most likely going to get one. And yeah, Porro was going to go up to 5.1, so I decided to go with him over Udogie. There is a 0.3 difference now, actually, I believe, because I don't think Udogie got a price rise. But obviously, because I didn't already own Udogie, it was just a 0.2 difference for me. And for the attacking threat that Porro kind of gives, it was a no-brainer, really. I think for 0.2, that extra attacking threat is going to be very, very useful. Of course, that doesn't mean that Udogie's a bad option at all. He's still a really good player to have in your team, but because of the attacking threat, because of the numbers, it's all the data and stuff really that's pushing me over the line. Obviously, if Porro was 5.5, I wouldn't be going near him. I'd just have Udogie. But because it's a 0.2 difference, there's nothing wrong with me going Porro. Like I say, if you're on wildcard but you have Udogie for 4.5, you still just keep him. There's not really any reason to get rid of him for Porro, but at the end of the day, I wanted to go Porro. Kabore is my 4 mil defender that I've got on the team, but that could be, you know, any 4 mil defender, really. Kabore's done me all right, though. He's not been bad for me. He's just, like I say, a player that I'm going to only play in the worst possible case scenario. I played him for the double game week, got 3 points. Wasn't that bad, really. I wasn't expecting anything crazy, but either way, he's my 4 mil defender. Porro's on there. Gabriel, again, like I said in my previous videos, he's there so I don't have to waste a transfer in game week 10 bringing in multiple Arsenal players. It's nice to have him already in the team so I don't have to worry about, like I say, getting in an Arsenal defender for that Sheffield United home game. I'll already have him. The only problem is if he gets injured, which again could happen. There's injuries left, right, and centre this season, and that very well could happen. If it does, it is really unfortunate because I have, on this first draft, I have nothing in the bank. On my second draft, I think I have like 0.2, but that still doesn't really give me much leeway for a Arsenal defender. So yeah, hopefully Gabriel will just be fine. I can't see him losing his spot. He's played 90 for the last 4 or 5 games, so he should be absolutely fine. Gone Dan Burn as well. He also got a price rise this week to 4.6. He's in there over Trippier. Again, he's not a good substitute for Trippier at all. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if you've got Dan Burn, it's fine, because Trippier is an absolute bonus point machine. He's on all the set pieces, and he has just got back-to-back double-digit hauls. It's just with this draft, you just can't get everyone. And I don't want to say you've missed the boat on Trippier, because West Ham away is still a good fixture, and then Crystal Palace and Wolves obviously really good fixtures as well for Newcastle. And, you know, he just got some attacking returns against PSG as well in the Champions League. I know Dan Burn did as well, but Trippier, I think, is just fine in any like any kind of situation. So in an ideal world, I would love Trippier on my draft, but I just don't. I don't have the funds for it, unfortunately. And then Matty Cash is on here as well. Obviously, he's just a really, really good option to have on the team. Villa's fixtures look very, very nice going forward. And so, yeah, I think everybody on wildcard, whether it's 8 or 10, I think they're all going to be having a bit of Matty Cash on their wildcard. If they don't already own him by then, I would definitely, if you've got no other fires to put out, which is unlikely because there's so many injuries this week, but if you have like an Estepinian or something like that, just downgrade to Matty Cash. You can easily do it, and he's just such a good player to have in. He's getting so much more forward now this season, and so hopefully we'll get some returns. So that's the back line. In midfield for this draft, I have Salah, Gordon, Maddison, Son, and Neto. Again, this is why I wanted to wait for press conferences. Big Ange did just come out and say that Maddison has trained all week. Son's trained light in the last 2. They're fine. So no worries about that. Son will be my captaincy for game week 8. I'm putting that in right now. Unless, obviously, we get early, because it is the early kickoff. You're never supposed to back the early kickoff, but I think I'm going to with Son. And unless we get any crazy news that he's not starting, then obviously I will have to change my wildcard draft around. If we get news that, like, he's not starting or something, I will probably just have... I don't really know. That'll just honestly send the FPL community into anarchy. But anyway, I've got Son and Maddison. They should be fine. I've got Neto on this draft as well, and Gordon, both 5.6 players. In fact, I think Neto might be 5.7 now. He is 5.7 now. I got him in early just because of that. In case I don't know if I'm going to definitely like go with this draft, but if I do, obviously I'll have to have Neto. At the same time, I could downgrade to a 4.5 mil midfielder and just have that extra money that I could use on a different midfielder in the future, which isn't the worst case scenario because this first draft is 3-4-3, so it's not like I need 2 5.6 mil playing midfielders. It's just Gordon is suspended this week, so I'd have to play Gabriel against City or Kabore, who's got Spurs at home, and I don't want to do either of those things. So that's why I've kind of got Neto in there just in case. But either way, he's on there, Gordon's on there, and then of course Mohamed Salah. The first time he's been in my draft this season, it's going to be weird because I've obviously had him in FPL for like, just as everyone else has, for like all the other seasons. So it's going to be weird that I didn't start with him this season. But he is back in the draft now. He's 12.6, so he's a little bit more expensive. Hopefully he can go big against Brighton, who are missing a couple of key players. So yeah. Pretty happy with that. And then up top in the first draft, I have Solanke, I've got Watkins, and I've got Haaland. Now, a lot of people think that Solanke might be a bit of a bad option, but at the end of the day, he's on penalties, he's a 90-minute man, and he's got 3 really, really good fixtures coming up. He's obviously got Wolves, Burnley, and then he's also got Everton away. So really, really nice fixtures for Solanke, and he's obviously not highly owned either. I think he's a little bit of a nice differential, 2.6% owned. So if he does go off in any of those games, then we're looking really, really good. And I think I'd rather have him than like a 5.6 mil midfielder playing every single week. Like, you know, when Neto plays Newcastle at home, for example, you know, I can just play Solanke instead. Now, the only problem with this, obviously, like Haaland and Watkins speak for themselves. I know there's other options like Darwin Núñez, Alvarez, stuff like that, but I don't think I'm going to go with those. I think Watkins and Haaland are definitely going to be on the team. The Diaby one's an interesting one because I could go Diaby if I really wanted to, and I'm not completely against the idea of having Diaby, but, you know, Emery did say that it was going to be a late call. And I just don't, on a wild card, I don't really want to be taking any risks and stuff because if he's still out, he's probably going to get like a price drop and stuff like that. It's just going to be a little bit annoying. So I don't think I'm going to go Diaby. I think Cash and Watkins are just going to be my Villa kind of coverage. And then, yes, Solanke's on there. But the only problem with Solanke is after game week 10, he has City and then Newcastle. So I'm obviously not going to want to keep him for those fixtures. So I'll probably be getting rid of him around then. So if I do go with this draft, it just locks in a future transfer around the time when I'm going to be wanting to bring in Arsenal, Brighton, and players like that. But unfortunately, there's not really anyone for those teams around that price point. Obviously, there's like João Pedro and stuff, but you just don't know if he's going to start. And I don't really want to commit to João Pedro if he's just going to get benched and stuff. You know, I didn't have him at the start of the season, but I know the people that did was a bit of a headache whether they bench him or not. So I don't think I would do that. So it just locks in a transfer. Now, obviously, what I could do is I could downgrade Solanke to Archer in game week like 11 and then upgrade Gordon to like a Bowen or something like that, which again is fine, but it locks in 2 transfers if I do that. Whereas if I go on to this draft, I have still got 0.2 in the bank, and as well as that, I already have Bowen, and then I already have Archer, so I don't have to worry about those 2 transfers because I'm already making them now. And I quite like this draft as well. Like, Neto could be Gordon if I wanted him to be. It's just, obviously, he doesn't play this week, so I would have to play Neto and Bowen, because it'd be I mean, I wouldn't have to. I could do a 3-4-3 and not play Neto. I could play Cash, Burn, Pedro, Porro. I could play Salah, Bowen, Maddison, and Son, and then play Watkins and Haaland. So I could do a 3-4-3, a 3-4-3 with Archer as well. But it's just Archer who's got Fulham away. Like, it's not the worst fixture at all. Like, it's okay. But the only other issue is I'll have Neto and Bowen playing two of my defenders. I'd have Neto playing against Cash, and I'd have Bowen playing against Burn. So it's just kind of, it's just not allowing the ceiling to be as high as possible for potential points. Because obviously if Neto scores, Cash ain't keeping a clean sheet. If Cash keeps a clean sheet, Neto's not scoring. Same with Bowen. So it's a little bit unfortunate in that situation. Whereas if I just play Archer and I just bench Neto, then it's only really Bowen playing Burn. And to be fair, I don't think Newcastle will keep a clean sheet against West Ham anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Whereas I think Villa very well could keep a clean sheet against Wolves. Again, it would have to wait and see, obviously, until the game. But I think I'm leaning more towards this draft because it doesn't lock in the two transfers, and I still have a tiny bit of money in the bank as well, just if I need anything at all. Obviously, I could downgrade to Porro and have 0.4 in the bank, which, you know, isn't too bad either. And I could use that money elsewhere. And maybe bring in like a 6 mil midfielder, but I just don't see the point in that. So I'm more leaning to this because Bowen has been really, really good this season so far. His numbers have actually been really, really good. The only problem is, like, I'd much prefer to have Bowen on the Game Week 10 wildcard because you don't have to have him for like these two bad fixtures. Because even next week, Bowen's playing Villa away, so I'd be having my midfielder playing another one of my defenders. So it's just not ideal at all. So that's the kind of situation. But then obviously Neto plays Bournemouth in Game Week 9. So I'm more leaning to this draft. Again, I will probably sleep on it, see if there's any more price rises and stuff tonight. Because obviously Bowen had one as well, so I've actually lost 0.1 on him, but I just couldn't fit him in my team really with everybody else without like pulling the trigger and stuff. Because I've still got like, on my actual team, I've still got like Trippier and stuff. It's just I can afford this team with 0.2 in the bank. It's just if Trippier gets another price rise, I want that extra bit of money. So yeah, that's why Bowen's unfortunately gone up for me. But either way, that I think it's going to be this, to be fair. I think I've talked myself into this. I think this is going to be my draft for Game Week 8. I do quite like it, to be fair. It's not the worst one in the world. So, yeah, this could be the one I'm going with. And then, like I say, further down the line, I could, you know, maybe get rid of Son or something like that and bring in, like, I'll cross Game Week 10 when I get to it. Hopefully won't have to make any transfers till Game Week 10, so I will have 2 free transfers in the bank by the time that rolls around. But either way, that's everything from me. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're brand new, and until next time, peace.